Good morning. Welcome to the Silver Solutions Show. We started this weekly discussion to share useful information with seniors, disabled adults, and their families. Our co-hosts are Jim Wojciechowski, and I'm Kathy Wetters, and Jeanette is had to be away today. Today's topic that we're going to discuss, it's more of a question, is how will life change for seniors and their families after the COVID-19 pandemic? Forbes magazine ran an article, interesting article. A guy named Bart Astor wrote it on April 26, and it said, "What will life be like for seniors after COVID-19?" It's got 10 great questions. One is, will middle-aged people, especially, essentially our kids, will they wonder and worry more about their older generation after this scare during the pandemic than they did before? And if so, will it change the behaviors that they have exhibited now, after COVID-19 versus before? What do you think about that, Jim?
Well, we discussed it before. Is it going to change? You know what? Family dynamics plays such a role in this. And, as we were talking, you and Jeanette said you saw change and concern, and in my family, and I don't know if it's because I have no idea why, but we didn't see we just didn't see any additional concern. So
sure. And then the next one, point two, was if a decision is made, heaven forbid, that we go live at a facility, hopefully, the seniors' input will count, and when the decision's made to perhaps go to a shared facility, then, hopefully the family will help in vetting them more stringently and make sure there's a rigorous regulatory control. One thing we've learned is infection control is really important in facilities, isn't it?
No doubt about it. In fact, Como's still taking, I don't want to make a political statement, but 5,800 people died by being put into nursing homes, or COVID people being put into nursing homes, and the rest of the nursing home people got COVID.
In the state of New York, right? That was
yes.
New York, yeah.
Yes.
The third one was, will more families think about adapting their homes and moving their senior parents in with them? And that's going to take some lifestyle accommodations in those blended families, huh?
Well, and Kath, you and I have talked, and I've talked to other right-at-home owners. The phone seems to be ringing off the wall right now because people are removing their loved ones from facilities and either bringing them home with them and they need some extra help at home, or they're keeping mom and dad at their home that they own.
Right. So, and another question, will there be a greater emphasis on seniors aging in place or even sharing homes, between seniors? That's been somewhat not as popular option, but it's being used now. But will that become a more popular option, the sharing of homes?
And we see that probably increasing in industry, but then again, with social distancing, I think we're all in agreement that people are going to tend to want to stay in their own home.
Right. And the next one is, will our society move closer to universal health insurance than ever before? Essentially, Medicare for all, I believe is what it's called. And if so, will that dilute the coverage that seniors are used to getting now?
And I'm going to repeat that because you checked out there for a second. Will our society move closer to a universal health insurance concept, essentially like Medicare for all? If so, will that dilute the coverage of care we seniors already have? What other unintended consequences will result? And I'll hand that one over to you.
Yeah. So some unintended consequences of that may be there's there might be a lot more people seeking care than there are healthcare providers to provide it. That's going to be, there might be a resource limitation. It's going to be interesting to see, and who gets care based on what criteria, when. You know, that's a deep subject, don't you think?
It is a deep subject, and I'm thinking about the pool of Medicare. If we go full, where the government is paying all of your health care, and they just combine the Medicare and the Medicaid funds together, there still isn't enough money for everybody to get health care. So we're in a dilemma.
It's a dilemma, right? Yep. And then the next one is, will there be more regulations placed on businesses and services to accommodate more seniors, or just the opposite? Will there be more restrictions on serving seniors who are more at risk? Will there be a surge of new services to help seniors with their daily lives, such as food delivery and things like that? I know we have used more, we've even used the Instacart, you know, grocery store delivery.
Really?
We were locked in. We were very pleased with it. Yeah.
And that's excellent. I know several services out there that do provide that. Are there any that provide services to, let's say, the less fortunate seniors of us, those people that may be on Medicaid? Are there any services like that out there?
The like Meals on Wheels and that
Meals
type of thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A lot of volunteer basis. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now this is a question. Did we cover this last time, or is this a new one? This is our new questions, right?
No, this is still the same ones.
Okay, very good.
We got them all. Another one, will young people take a greater interest in their ancestry, realizing after, you know, they've worried so much about their loved ones getting sick and perhaps dying, maybe they've realized how precarious our life is, and will people sit and write their memoirs? I can't see myself writing any memoirs, but maybe some folks, that'll be just what they're going to be dedicated to doing at this time.
And I do remember this question.
Yeah.
Yes, I probably won't be the one to write a memoir. Though I have had events, and they're wonderful events. Those people who have that type of, in fact, we on Silver Solutions, we had a guest who shared one of her memoirs.
Yeah.
Not too long ago. So yeah, that could happen.
Yeah. And then we've sort of talked about Social Security, so maybe we'll pass over that one for now. Will distance learning and continuum ed now being forced on everyone at a greater levels, are more older people going to go back to school or increase their learning because they're more comfortable with this Zoom technology and whatnot?
Well, you know what? We've been blessed with this technology, and I can't believe the usage of this type of technology in everyday life, such as what we're doing now. We're taking our radio show from remote locations for safety purposes, and it's working out great. As you can see, Kathy's front porch here. She's doing the show from her front porch, and I'm in my bedroom as usual.
Yeah, my husband over the weekend had a Zoom call with some of his college acquaintances that he hadn't talked to in 40 years, and they all got on and planned an outing for the fall, and they hadn't talked to each other in 40 years. Someone said, let's get on Zoom and do this, and they did, and it was really great for him. Yeah.
I thought that, do we see seniors doing this? Yeah, I mean, I am now officially a senior, so yes.
And then will there be more of an emphasis in the healthcare community on geriatric medicine now that we've seen the effect of COVID-19 on the senior population, how devastating it is, like for the 75 years and older? Are people going to...
will there be more emphasis? I think what has happened is the medical community has been forced to learn more about geriatric care in the last 3 months than, and I think it may help care for geriatrics in the future.
It may be a benefit.
It may be.
A silver lining,
Yes.
a big cloud. Yep.
Right.
So we're about kind of at the point maybe for an ad. The Silver Solution Show is sponsored by Right at Home.
Getting older shouldn't mean giving up all the things that we do and love. It should just mean, well, finding new ways to do them, like Zooming. Right at Home's professional team thoughtfully selects caregivers to provide help with personal needs, housekeeping, meal preparation, and companionship. Our goal is to improve the quality of life of those we serve each day. We can provide the right care at Right at Home. Call us today at 877-ELDER99. That's 877-353-3799.
So I came across a second article in the Journal of Aging and Social Policy. It was written on Tax Day, April 15th, by Nancy Morrow Howell, Natalie Galuccia, and Emma Swinford. And they wrote an article entitled, or a paper entitled, Recovering from the COVID-19 Pandemic, a Focus on Older Adults. So first they looked at some challenges, and some of the challenges that they brought up is, one is older adults will perhaps have a harder time re-entering the workforce. And like after 2008, a lot of folks that were like in their mid to late 50s that got downsized, had a heck of a time finding work, but they weren't, really at a point to retire. And so just now, as back then, a lot of older adults wound up, dipping into the retirement savings a little early than they had anticipated. So that's a challenge, it seems, don't you think?
It is, it is a challenge. But you know what? I see I'm thinking actually, we're blessed to have several senior caregivers.
Yeah.
And actually, they're doing fine on their retirement. They just want to keep active and give back, and they just have hearts of gold.
Yeah.
I see this gentleman at Home Depot. He's my favorite guy at Home Depot.
Oh, really?
I can ask him everything. He knows everything.
He's knowledgeable, huh?
Yeah. So, it may be a challenge for some, but there are plenty of opportunities out there for those who still want to work or have to work out there.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. And then another thing that says, this I think is true, the pandemic has prevented many older adults from having their pre-existing physical, emotional, and social needs met through the aging network services and the health care. I think that a lot of folks maybe have neglected some of their health care needs because they didn't want to go chance catching COVID-19 while they went to the emergency room or to the family specialist or their family physician.
And then, and agree with that tremendously. In fact, it's still being talked about that a lot of people who have had cancer are still not going to get cancer treatments in fear of catching COVID because they have this pre-existing condition. What concerns me tremendously are the emotional and social needs of our seniors today.
Yep. And this lack
we were talking about this at Bible study. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the emotional and social needs are missing right now just by the loneliness that some of these seniors. A lot of these seniors, not some, a lot of seniors feel like they can't be with or see their family. I have a neighbor that the daughter is pregnant And of course, grandma wants to be with, with her daughter to have the baby. And out of concern for the baby, mom was asked to stay away.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's not the first time I've heard that story.
Yeah, yeah, wow.
So I'm really concerned about the emotional needs of our seniors today.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they can use Zoom technology to help these seniors.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of folks have maybe neglected their personal care. They're not taking their meds right, or their nutrition they've let go because maybe they're depressed, and it's led to some deterioration in health.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. They point out even before COVID-19, social isolation disproportionately affected seniors, and because they already naturally have diminished social networks relative to younger folks. Their living arrangements sometimes are sort of isolating, and they don't have perhaps a car to drive and don't want to do, public transportation. So this really just makes an already a problem worse, and this isolation is deeper, and the anxiety that goes with it's just has spiked, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, again, no doubt. And as we were just talking about, the emotional needs, the depression and even there during this time, maybe not so much in the last week, we had church for the first time.
Oh, yeah,
in person. So we had a great Sunday. Everybody was just so glad to see each other, though it was a little bit different. But I can imagine seniors that are somewhat isolated. They don't see this. So if you know somebody like that, please pick up the phone and give them a call and check on them.
Now the next point they made really sort of surprised me, and I had not heard it, but it was kind of surprising that, you think about ageism, and the authors mentioned that some may think saving the economy is more important than saving older folks' lives. Now, I haven't heard that said in my presence, but it's disturbing. And some of the phrases they brought up, thinning the herd and boomer remover regarding COVID-19, that is cruel. Those are just cruel hashtags, and things to say. Yeah.
I haven't heard those.
Me either, and I hope it's really a minority,
And I'm thinking it may be, and I'm hoping it may be also.
Yep. And then, disproportionately, older adults of color and those with lower socioeconomic status have been really hit hard with the physical and economic challenges that COVID-19 has brought on. And that's really a real fact, and it's hard on that group of folks that by no fault of their own has just been disproportionately affected in a bad way.
Yes. Yep, no doubt.
Now they brought up, but the authors also brought up some bright side to this thing. As far
Good,
as
let's get there.
Yeah. One we already talked about, improved use of technology, and their skills have increased through experience. We've talked about that, and that's for sure true. Yeah.
And there's no doubt. I mean, you have Zoom, Skype, you can FaceTime on your iPhone. You can do all sorts of things. And the great thing about it, actually, I think I have mentioned in a past thing, is we're doing a lot of interviewing, both of clients and caregivers via Zoom. And it's working very, very well. People get it doesn't take over being in person, but it does have, you can see somebody's face, you can see their eyes and their emotions. It's just it's a blessing in these days. Can you imagine that COVID happening 100 years ago?
Oh, right. Wouldn't that be something? Yeah.
Yes.
Numerous,
So
numerous intergenerational programs have emerged, like Students to Seniors, a program where students and older adults engage in virtual conversations, or Zoomers to Boomers, an intergenerational grocery delivery service. I like that term, Zoomers to Boomers.
I love that term. That's a term that I really like. This is, you know, one of the things we see in this time of distress and concern are a lot of the young generation stepping forward. They're stepping forward with the ideas that some of our politicians can't even think of.
Right.
And they are making life bearable and enjoyable for a lot of seniors. So kudos to you, younger generation.
That's right. So true. And, you know, they point out there may be a renewed energy to combat social isolation. So this is kind of one way that the intergenerational sharing may not have happened had this not happened, you know, to the degree that hopefully we won't lose the momentum of that. And,
you know, there's an old saying, and I can't think what it is, but for every bad thing that happens, two good things happen also.
hopefully that's the case here.
Yep.
And then older adults are gaining more respect for self-care and time management. You know, we all think we're going to live forever and we don't maybe take care of ourselves like we could and should. And I know sometimes, you know, overeating, you know, I should diet and exercise more, but I don't. So maybe all of us as an older adult population, it's sort of a little wake-up call to us. Yeah.
Well, and you're absolutely right, Kat. You know, you just mentioned the good things. Is there anything more specific you can mention? I can think of a whole list. In fact, I can walk downstairs to my garage, and now I can get 2 cars in it.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah. And
so, yeah, and I had to do it before the good Lord takes me.
that's right. You got to pick up your step. That's the way I feel like sometimes.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Yes. We're under a time crunch now.
Yes, we are. The pandemic has brought an increased awareness in that regard of the importance of advanced directives and other legal documents. You know, we spend a lot of time talking about it, but prior to this, half of the Americans have not had end-of-life conversations with their loved ones, and only almost less than a third had even put a formal document together. So hopefully this pandemic has got us all also thinking about if and when the worst comes, we need to get all of our ducks in a row. Yeah.
After I clean the garage fully.
After the garage clean.
And that is one thing we have talked about it on the show for the last 5 years. Being prepared, getting all your legal documents in hands, and so your family doesn't have to deal with this. But then I need to practice what I preach. So
yeah, me too.
So, yeah.
So, you know, overall, you know, there may be, that the authors point out, there may be an upswing in interest among professionals across a lot of disciplines to work with older adults and issues of public health. We have an opportunity to address a long-standing problem that not enough people are coming into the professions that serve older adults and address issues of an aging society. So maybe another silver lining is that the COVID-19 has shown it can really wipe out a generation pretty easily. You know, if things had been, if we hadn't used social distancing and mask and all that, you know, we really dodged a big bullet in a lot of communities. So hopefully people will be drawn to helping the older adults. And as we're getting into those ages, we're hoping so, right?
Well, and you know, that's true too. And also, you know, as time passes and other things take over the news segments, I'd like to just encourage everybody out there to, this isn't over. We still have a long way to go. There's no vaccine. There's no cure on the horizon. So, you know, be careful. Be in contact with your with the seniors that you love, whether it's mom, dad, aunt, uncle, neighbors. We have some wonderful neighbors, and we have an elderly neighbor that and we're always over there helping her out. So,
Good.
you know, make sure that you do that. Knocking on your doors, and don't forget, you know, to keep your social distancing, wear your masks, especially when you're around older people.
Yep. So, you know, we're about, as usual, sort of out of time on this segment. So I know that, Jim, you're like this, and I try to be more so like this, is think about things with the glass half full.
Yes.
And let's all be gentle on each other and build on opportunities and find solutions to our challenges in this post-pandemic world. So that would be a philosophical way I hope we can look at it as a society. Would you like to take us out today before the end of the show?
Sure. Today's show was brought to you by Right at Home. Our customized care plans provide as much or as little help as your loved one requires, whether it's a bath, a lift to the doctor, or just a little bit of help around the house. Call Right at Home today at 877-ELDER-99. That's 877-353-3799.
The bottom line is it was the absolute right choice to go on board with Right at Home.
Right at Home truly gives me the right care.
With Right at Home, I get some respite from some things to go on out and just do silly things for me.
Our services are unreal. We change someone's quality of life every day.
I've had a good relationship with Right at Home. They're very, very professional. You could count on them. They were dependable.
We look at every case based on the individual needs of the client or the individual situations that a family needs to accommodate as they're trying to care for their loved one.
We've got each other, and we have help from Right at Home, and things are going quite well.
We go above and beyond with the extra attention to the details of that individual.
This gives me an opportunity to be in my own home and enjoy the memories I have in that home.
I really think we're living out our remaining years the way we would want to.
I'm allowing families and their loved ones to be able to live their lives to the fullest.
The right care, right at home.